Hello, and welcome to the Taylor Seminars, where we talk about how Taylor Swift turns life into poetry. My name is Hannah, and I'm here with my wonderful co host, Exquisite. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, Hannah.
We are here today to talk about uh, what track is 23 of the Tortured Poets Department. I hate it here. Are you excited for this episode?
Um, yeah, I am excited for this episode. Um, and yeah, I'm excited for this episode.
Exquisite is
Just
already feeling emotional if you can't.
I hate it here. MP3.
Yeah, this is like I said, track 23. It's written by Taylor and Aaron, or it's definitely produced by them. Let me check if it's written by them. Um, yes, it is together. So likely Taylor wrote it to a track that Aaron sent her, and I'm just gonna dive right in, and then we can start talking about it. Here we go. Quick, quick, tell me something awful, like you are a poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy. Tell me all your secrets. All you'll ever be is my eternal consolation prize. You see, I was a debutante in another life, but now I seem too scared to go outside. Now I seem to be scared to go outside, excuse me. If comfort is a construct, I don't believe in good luck now that I know what's what. Boom.
Oh, okay. So I feel like I not I feel like I definitely was talking about that intro with you, Hannah. The quick, tell me something awful, like you are a poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy, because it's such an interesting intro. And she pulls like a Swiftism with it in this song, where she ends the song in the exact line that she opens the song with. Um, and I love when she does that in general, but there's just something so interesting about that line, especially as it like continues, because she's talking to someone. She's talking to someone, and whoever it is, she's like, "Tell me you're more interesting than you actually are. That you're like actually a poet." And wouldn't that be so awful if you were a poet who was forced to be like this finance person? Really boring. It forced into a boring life and not being able to be like poetic or whatever. And I just think that's so interesting with that first line.
Yeah, I think even from the very beginning, you're already kind of like, what is happening here? The song is called "I Hate It Here," but immediately you're like, okay, we're in the middle of this conversation, and she's like, no one wants to hear anything awful. Like, who wants to hear bad news? But she's in such a state of mind where she's like, I want you to tell me something awful, and I think that speaks to where she's at in this
And
setting of the song.
the things you could think of is being someone who is inherently like creative and has a different view of the world and should be allowed to express that, but being stuck in the body of like someone who has to go into the office and work and do nothing else.
Yeah, and that person might say, I hate it here, right? So we have already this kind of connection to the song. And then we have, tell me all your secrets. Again, talking to this person. All you'll ever be is my eternal consolation prize. So a consolation prize is like you don't win first place, but it's like a participation trophy or ribbon. Like, thanks for
Or
coming, thanks for playing.
consolation prize, like even more than just like a thanks for coming, like participation trophy. It's usually something you get when you lose. So like if you have two people in a game, the winner gets like the big prize, and then the consolation prize is like, oh well, you didn't win the big like giveaway we were doing to some island. So as a consolation prize, we're giving you like $1,000 and a gift card. So it's like not as good, but it's something.
Yeah. Yeah. So but then so this person she's talking to, she's saying, tell me all your secrets, but you'll also be just my second place or non-grand prize. Like,
Wanted.
so what did you say?
I said no. Oh my God.
Bless you.
It's not what she wanted.
Yes.
This isn't the life she wanted. And she even goes on that, like after that, she goes, I was a debutante in another life,
So,
but now I seem to be scared to go outside. And I think the fact that that comes after my eternal consolation prize lets us know that this person is who she's with because she's scared to go outside. Like, she's like, in another life, we would have never been together because we wouldn't have met or something. But in this life, the one where I am agoraphobic, and won't go outside, too traumatized for any of that. We're together,
yeah.
and that is so
Yeah, and a debutante is somebody who is about to enter society. So this happens a lot in like, especially Southern society, or I guess even like very elite high class societies where there's a year where you kind of come out and are shown to be like, able to be, I'm a woman now. I'm able to be married, kind of like Bridgerton, right? Like, so in another
yeah.
life, like she was like a social butterfly or a social, yeah, like a social, like almost like a princess, right? Like, but now she's too, like you said, she's agoraphobic. She's too scared to go outside.
And if comfort is a construct, I don't believe in good luck.
Now that I
So
know
like,
what's what.
because she knows what's outside, and she knows the only thing she has is this man who's probably so boring because he's a finance guy. She's like, tell me you're a poet. Like, please tell me there's something more to you.
Yeah, which is an awful thing to hear, but I would rather hear that. But yeah, like the whole like I read when I look at the last two lines, I kind of read them backwards. Like now that she knows what's what, now that she knows what's real and how this world works, this world that she does not like, right? Comfort is a construct. It's fake. I don't believe in good luck. I don't believe in fate. Like there's everything. All my beliefs have like fallen apart. Like there's nothing good.
And this being set before, like on the anthology, she like further goes, like later, she further goes on to like, fate is fake and I can't stop it, or like surrendering to it. Like all of this, she's like, and she doesn't believe in good luck, and she doesn't believe, like, she can't comfort herself with any of this anymore because she knows the truth. She knows what's outside.
Yeah. And before we get into the chorus, I feel like this song to me is one of those where you really see the bottom of the pit that she's in.
Yeah.
Like I know the prophecy and how did it end are also very sad, like, moments, and she is at the end of the rope, but I would say that this is another one where she is like at the beyond the basement floor. She is literally at a
it,
breaking point.
it is so, yeah. She, because we talked a bit about that, like this thing Taylor's able to do where she's super fatalistic but also optimistic at the same time. Like she's a paradox that way. And in this song, there is no optimism. There is only like maladaptive daydreaming to look beyond it, which we're going to get to in the chorus.
Which you should read now.
Yeah. I hate it here, so I will go to secret gardens in my mind. People need a key to get to. The only one is mine. I read about it in a book when I was a precocious child. No mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. I'm there most of the year because I hate it here. I hate it here.
She says I hate it here a lot.
Yeah,
3 times in just that one chorus.
because she hates it here, and I understand her. So, Secret Gardens in my mind is based on a book. Hannah, can you expand on the book?
I loved this book as a child, but now I don't remember the author's name. So Secret Garden is a book by, I'm Googling it, Frances Hodgson Burnett. It's a beautiful, if you haven't read it, I think it's a beautiful book about a girl who grows up during British colonial era in India. Her parents die. She has to come back to England and live with her like grand uncle or something, and she's a miserable, terrible, tantrumy young girl, but she discovers a literal secret garden, a garden that has high walls, no one can climb like over the walls, and she finds this little key and opens it, and then throughout the book it's about how like she's transformed by the power of nature, find friendship and to find joy and life and love. And she becomes like this, from this sickly, anemic girl to like a healthy, like young woman, basically.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, I love
And
that book.
on a more like meta note, Secret Gardens in my mind. Hello, Betty's Garden. Hello, Folkmore era. Um, I hate it here, so I will go to Secret Gardens in my mind. And then people need the key to get to. The only one is mine. So she's like, I'm going off by myself. I have to imagine myself into a better place. And she again alludes to the book. And she said she mentions being a precocious child again here. She mentioned it when she with oh my goodness, I forgot how the West is run. But Daddy, I love him.
Hmm.
Growing up precocious. Sometimes he's not growing up at all. So she's emphasizing again. She's like, I was well beyond my years as a child, and I read this book called Secret Gardens, and now that's where I live, and I like no mid-sized city hopes and small town fears is so crazy because she's like, I'm not scared of anything, but I'm also not hoping for anything. I'm just here.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's there all the time, like these daydreams, right? Like, of her living in fantasies in her head. And that's her coping mechanism because she doesn't want to deal with what's happening in her world. Um, and it's just so sad. It's very sad. And we'll when we get to the end of this, we'll talk more about like how this all ties together. But you can
Just
all, yeah. Go ahead.
no, I'm just repeating that it's so sad.
Yeah, and um, right, like she's basically made this fake world, like you said, the secret gardens, like, yeah, like, and we know she can. We know she's good. Like you said, you reference like folklore and Evermore, right? Like she's done that before, and so she can do it again. But now maybe instead of it just being like a fun pandemic exercise that where she got to try out these new stories and love triangles and murders and things like that. Now she's like, oh, like this is, instead of being a fun thing I get to do, it's a place where I just build high walls and have a key and no one else can get in. Like this is an unhealthy version of like escape.
To do.
It's not a what?
It's not probably not a very good coping mechanism, but she is coping. She's
Yeah.
coping. And on the next course, she'll tell us what she's coping with, basically, kind of. But on this part that Hannah's about to read, I just want to say this song is often misunderstood. And it is probably one of the songs that caused us the most discourse during release week because people were being stupid. And I'm not to be like nobody's stupid. No, they were being dumb and they were being bad faith. And I'm still mad about it. And when I think about it, I get mad about it because why are you reading this like this? Like you're not giving her any grace, especially because the criticism she was getting was the criticism she was making. Oh, you know what? Read it, Hannah.
My friends used to play a game where we would pick a decade we wished we could live in instead of this. I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid. Everyone would look down 'cause it wasn't fun now. Seemed like it was never even fun back then. Nostalgia's a mind trick. If I'd been there, I'd hate it. It was freezing in the palace.
Or what was that other line, Hannah?
Oh, we'll talk about that after.
Okay.
Why don't you do
Um,
your little get on your soapbox?
okay, yeah, I'm gonna sit on my soapbox about this because people, let me tell y'all, I want you guys to understand just how ridiculous it was. People were like, "Oh my God, why would you say the 1830s? Like, what was there to like dream about going back to the 1830s for?" I'm looking at the camera like I'm in the office. Or or they were like, I just she couldn't pick any other decade. Like, why did she have to make it weird? That's the point. That's the whole point. She literally sets it up in the previous verses because she said she lets us know she was a precocious child, right? She then goes on to talk about how she would ruin the games because all of her friends were just trying to play this silly little decade game. And she's like, it literally was going like, hey, Hannah, what decade would you live in? And they would ask her, and she's like, well, I don't know, maybe the 1830s, except only if they got rid of all the racism and all the selling us. And actually, guys, this game is so stupid and we shouldn't be playing this. She's ruining it. That's the point. That's the point. And I don't understand why everybody got so mad at her about this. Because like if y'all were gonna make like this stupid nitpicking about anything, it could have been the timeless song. It could have been timeless. Um, but
No,
no,
no, it's definitely because like, you know, they would only look at this line, I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racist and getting married off the highest bid. And they would literally not look at the lines like, it seems like it was never even fun. Like, it wasn't fun now. Seems like it wasn't even fun back then. And if I'd been there,
exactly.
I hate it. Like, it would not
And
have worked out.
everyone would look down. Like she made it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And also, those same people who were making jokes at Taylor about this and like jumping her were watching Bridgerton the next week. So, is that not the 1800s without the racism?
You got him.
Like, I don't get it. Like, they play. Oh, I'm mad about it, actually. I'm still mad about it.
Yeah.
Leave her alone.
Yeah, leave her alone. And and this verse, the reason why she does this verse, is to show, right? Like she hates it all. Like she hates it here, she hates it there, she hates it everywhere. Like, like a Dr. Seuss rhyme or something, right? Like, go ahead.
No, just saying exactly.
Yeah, and so like, right. So it wasn't fun now. It wasn't fun back then. And then nostalgia is a mind trick, right? Like nostalgia is the feeling of like a fondness you have for a past memory or a past event or past life. But she's saying it's a trick, like looking back and thinking that, oh, the previous time was better. Like, no, it wasn't. Like it sucked back then too. Um,
It's freezing.
yeah. Why don't you talk about it was freezing in the palace a little bit?
Oh, it's hold on. Someone like is revving their engine behind
I
me.
cannot hear it, so
Um,
you're good.
but it's like she's like, if you imagine like, oh, but when I was younger, I used to live in a palace, right? We could have all lived in a palace. It was so beautiful back then. Like everything was great. But she's at like actually, guys, she's like, remember in the palace you were freezing. You were cold. It was miserable. You only think it was better because you're imagining a better time.
Yeah. If you think about
And
it, back then they didn't have central heating. You literally had to just like burn fireplaces, and then you wouldn't light your whole palace because that's a lot of wood and work and coals or whoever servants. So a lot of times they would just leave whole wings just cold, and they were not insulated well. And so and so it's and I think it reminds me a lot of like I get the image of like you left me alone at the house by the heath, right? It reminds me of like Dear Reader, where you're just wandering by yourself, like with a fourth drink, and you're just like cold and alone. And one thing I do want to bring up is I don't know, dear reader, dear listener, if you know this, but certain recordings of this song have different lyrics. For the If I'd Been There, I'd Hate It. So I did some research. So I hear nostalgia is a mind trick. No midnight in Paris. It was freezing in the palace. And maybe we'll have our intern post the video that I took. So it turns out that it's only available in the Dolby Atmos version of Apple Music. I Ate It Here. I Hate It Here. And that's the version I always listen to is No Midnight in Paris. And I remember listening again in that hotel room for the first song and being like two things. One is it's the name of a movie. No not No Midnight. The name of the movie is Midnight in Paris, which stars like Owen Wilson as like a dude who's like able to go into different eras. So there's that, right? Like who goes into the past and tries to live there. I'll look up the Wikipedia later. But the other one is the album, Exquisite's favorite album, Midnights, right? No Midnight in
I
Paris.
see.
Okay, well, the album of the year,
Thank
Midnights.
exactly.
Um,
I'm gonna use for
yeah.
the year.
So there's the No Midnight in Paris with the song. And so for me, I was like, I remember looking at my husband and being like, oh, she went there.
Because in Paris, in the song Paris, she's like, let the only flashing lights be the tower at midnights in my mind. And she's like, there was no midnights in Paris. You just made that up.
Yeah, guys, I was texting Exquisite about this last week, and she was so mad. And I was like, "I'm just prepping for the podcast," and she was still very mad. She literally did like the three super sad face emoji.
Why would she say that? Like, why would she say all that? Um, yeah, no, it's sick. And especially because it's like she's trying to tell herself like there's nothing back there for you. Especially and it's like a lot of Taylor's songs are like nostalgia in the sense that she's always reflecting and she's like, no,
Yeah,
you don't want to go back. Which is particularly interesting when you think about some of the themes of the album or like some of the songs of the album in that one of the reasons she ended up where she ended up is because she looked back on an old relationship and dug up the grave and when she should have let it stay buried, you know? Because there was nothing there for her.
ugh, yeah. And so I think for me, the nostalgia is a mind trick. No Midnight in Paris, that back to back, that really speaks to what you just said, right? Where it's like she looks back and with fondness at like the Midnight era, perhaps, but then been like, wait, there was no midnight in Paris, right? Like it was just freezing in the palace, right? Like I wanted to imagine us in Paris, but now I hate it here. Like it's just really sad.
It's just really sad. Yeah. Also, I just want to go back to the everyone would look down because it wasn't fun now. Seems like it was never even fun back then. Because I love the fact that she's like, well, actually, and then everyone like literally the way she describes like all of her friends, they're just like looking down because she ruined their game.
Hmm.
And then that seems like it was never even fun back then. Feels like she's remembering playing that game itself as well as like it was never fun in the past, but it was also never fun playing the game with her friends.
Yeah, and when that happens, when you say that awkward thing in front of your friends, it always happens the most embarrassing moment, right? You just want to escape. You hate it here, right? You're like, I want to bury that embarrassing memory forever and hide in a secret garden. Do you want to read
Yeah.
the next chorus?
Yes, I do, because it just breaks my heart. Um, I hate it here, so I will go to lunar valleys in my mind. When they found a better planet, only the gentle survived. I dreamed about it in the dark, the night I felt like I might die. No midnight, no mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. I'm there most of the year because I hate it here.
Deep breath.
I'm just so, and this is part of the reason, like this verse is part of the reason why I get so upset when people purposely misunderstand this song because literally I think this is the song where one of the songs even because I would also point out like this is me trying, but this is one of the songs where she just plainly dates out the like ideation she's having, the suicidal ideation, where she's just like that night, the only way she thought she was gonna die that night, and the only way she could get out is imagine living on a place where gentle spirits live, and they get to be gentle and stay that way. And that's the like that's how she had to survive it. She had to make up going to a better planet.
Yeah. No, like I hate it here, so I will go to Lunar Valley. So lunar is a reference to the moon, right? So like literally to the moon. Like I will go off of this planet that sucks to somewhere else. And then when they found a better planet, like a whole other world, In that place, only the gentle survived. Like people like me, people, who wouldn't
This
be mean.
and they don't do mean because she even like when Taylor uses the word gentle, like and well, first of all, I'm gonna like jump back to Midnight's really quick because she doesn't use gentle on this, but Lunar Valleys reminds me of Midnight's, but also in Sweet Nothing, she goes to you, I can admit I'm too soft for all of it. And then we have I was tame, I was gentle till the circus life made me mean. And so you get like in this verse encapsulated, she wants so badly to go back to being gentle and not being afraid to go outside and being a place where gentleness is allowed to thrive. Like that is her imagined world and where she has to go. And it just makes me so sad.
That was beautiful. Yeah, because right, and the juxtaposition of this lunar valley, better planet versus her being alone in the dark, dreaming, right, feeling like yeah, she would, yeah, like her, like she would die. Like this is me trying, um, and other references too, right? And again, then she,
Follow her fears all the way down, you know?
yeah, yeah, and stood on the cliffside screaming, "Give me a reason." Um, and so she's there most of the year because she hates it here.
And it's like most of the year is she's there in the lunar valleys most of the year because most of that year she was like, I might die. I'm so lonely and sad and frustrated and freezing in the palace that I might die. And I have to imagine better places. I have to write. I have to do something.
Yeah. It also reminds me of like Fresh Out the Slammer, right? For just one glimpse of his smile, for just 1 hour of sunshine, right? Like it wasn't all the time, but it was most of the time.
The fact that you just connected those, like the time she's not thinking about it, she says most of the year, then she's got her hours of sunshine and her hours out. But then the rest of the time, she's just in the dark.
Freezing, right? Like imagine like like now I'm imagining like the freezing palace being like, when if you're like a palace in like Sweden or Norway, where in the winter you get like 10 months of like 10 months of winter. No, you get like most of the day, like 20 hours of the day is in complete darkness. Like how cold that would be, and you just get like 1 or 2 hours of sun.
Wow, that's just so like it's so deeply upsetting.
I also
And also,
go ahead.
well, we don't talk about her delivery as often because it's hard to describe, but the way she sings "The Night I Felt Like I Might Die"
Hmm.
just takes the breath out of you. It's just so
Yeah, I'm gonna circle back one more time to "It's Freezing in the Palace." I mentioned this to one of my friends, being like, it's like almost like it reminded me of Frozen. If you haven't seen it by now, spoiler, I guess, but there's a scene where Anna is betrayed by someone, and she's literally freezing to death, and the person like puts out the fire in the room to be like, no one loves you and you're going to die, and you could freeze to death for all I care. And I was like, I wonder if she like saw that and was like, huh, it's freezing in the palace. Anyway, that's just my Disney adult brain a little bit kicking in.
you want to take the bridge.
Oh, here we go. I'm lonely, but I'm good. I'm bitter, but I swear I'm fine. I'll save all my romanticism for my inner life, and I'll get lost on purpose. This place made me feel worthless. Lucid dreams like electricity, the current flies through me, and in my fantasies, I rise above it. And way up there, I actually love it.
Deep sigh.
Yeah, like, girl, like, this is literally like the juxtaposition of like, and that what we say to people to make them think that we're okay, right? Like, I'm lonely, but I'm good. Like, I'm bitter, but I swear I'm fine. Like, this performativeness that we often have.
Like having to repeat it like I'm okay with being alone, you know? I'm good. What is it in King of My Heart where she's like I made up my mind I'm better off
Being alone.
before that changed, but in this song, this doesn't change. It doesn't change. She's good. And it's like there is the fact that she's saying, I'm lonely, but I'm good. I'm bitter, but I swear I'm fine. And that we know based on the beginning of the song that she is singing this to her partner,
Hmm.
which is like, wow,
Yeah,
you're lonely.
and the I'm bitter is like so it's I think such an interesting thing for her to say, because I think the bitterness does come out in songs like "So Long London." If you listen to like in hindsight, like bits of "Renegade," or even "You're Losing Me." I think "Renegade" was not so bitter actually, but it was a little bit like, "Come on, let's." Um,
It was it had the potential to turn bitter.
Right. But then we did have bitterness, obviously, in "You're Losing Me," and then definitely "So Long London." And so, um, it's the, I guess, the fight you have within yourself when you're trying to debate whether or not to save a relationship, right? Like, how
Mhm.
much compromise do I have to say that we're fine, to say that we can work on this, right? Versus this is a place where I need to escape or leave. And in this case, she didn't leave physically, but she tried leaving in her mind, right? Saving all her romanticism for her inner life, all these beautiful things that she wanted to, um,
Maybe she was right even. Like she had to save it for her notebook.
yeah, she had to just only play it in her head, like the love and the loving actions and the loving things. And so she gets lost on purpose, right? She lost in her mind on purpose. Like she's purposely choosing to escape into fantasy. And we know later that actually comes back to bite her in the butt, right? These fatal fantasies give way to labored breath, taking all of me, right? Guilty of sin. We're going to talk about that muse more later, I think. I want to go back to it, but, right? Because she feels so worthless.
This place made me feel worthless. And then it's like, I'm just mad as hell because I loved this place. But this place made me feel worthless. And now I have to go. The only time, like, lucid dreams, like electricity, the current flies through me, like she's feeling something. And in my fantasies, I rise above it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you. So lucid dreams are a dream is in which you're aware that you're dreaming, and so you can kind of control what's happening. I do not get lucid dreams. I'm very infrequently. I think I had to like. I think once I realize it's a dream, like I convinced myself it's not a dream. My husband has lucid dreams, but sh- uh, she like she's having these realistic dreams, right? And they're recharging her in certain ways in her fantasies, and then it like lifts her up.
Yep. Yep. And it's also like, I have to imagine. And by imagine, I don't have to imagine. Actually, I do have to imagine. Hold on. The sentence I'm trying to say is that, like, as a writer, one of the things, at least that I do, and also Taylor, because she's mentioned this, is that you do imagine like a better world, a better life, a better situation as you're writing, like when you're writing it. Or that's one of the things you can do. So I mean, I have to imagine that like one of the things she was doing was like writing out a better story for herself, that even then she had to remind herself, like, well, in the past this better story is not there. That's my mind tricking me. I have to do something. I have to live out these dreams that I'm controlling, right? And let that recharge me and light me up so I feel something, anything.
Yeah, and then I think it's in her fantasies she rises. She gets this view from up high, and from up there when she looks back at the world, like, okay, or like, how do you interpret that line? Like, do you interpret it as like, and way up there I actually love it up here, like I love my life up here, or do you think that she's looking down and then loves what she sees?
I think she's looking down because for me, the it is in reference to this place. This place made me feel worthless. So because I'm feeling worthless, I'm imagining something different and rising really high up in my own fantasies. And then I'm rising above the place that makes me feel worthless. And up here, I can love that place. In my imagination, in my writings, in the place, in the thing, the only thing that I can control, which are my these dreams and my stories, the only thing I can control about it, I love the place that I'm in. That's the only way I can love it.
Is from way up there
Yep.
in these in like you're seeing.
It's charming when I'm above the trees. I see it for what it was.
But the thing is, like, but here she's above the trees, but she's not seeing it for what it is. In my opinion, it's like she's erased the flaws. She has such a bird's eye view that she can't, like, she can love it because she doesn't actually feel it anymore. She's made this fake version.
And I think that is what she's like. She's critiquing herself for this, I think. Like she's like, only when I'm imagining do I love it. But she's in that second verse, she tries to tell herself, it's a mind trick. I am making this up is the problem. I'm making this up and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I think that's part of why like the tell me something awful like you're a poet in the body of a finance guy is that poet trapped in the body has to make things up like to write stories or whatever in order to feel like they love it, but in real life they're bored and they hate it. She's the poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy as well. She has to imagine it.
And it's just crazy because like that love hate relationship with her life. She hates her life, so she imagines a better life, and then loves her, then through that tries to convince herself that she loves her life, but then she realizes she actually that's fake. It's a mind trick, and so she hates her life, and then it's just this terrible cycle that she's going through.
And it's the only like she hates it so much she wants to die. She hates it so much she wants to die.
Yeah, so let me do the thing where I'm gonna circle back. So for me, when I heard like, I hate it here, so I'll go to lunar valleys in my mind when they found a better planet, like that otherworldly imagery reminded me a lot of Down Bad and how like, what were you gonna say that?
And I knew it was going there.
But right, like this idea of like I needed someone to help me escape this place. And they
Mhm.
promised, right, that I'm going to build you a fort on some planet, right, where they're all gonna, people understand you. What did you say?
And only the gentle survive on that planet.
Exactly. And so she actually thinks, right, and I think there it's in the oh gosh, we haven't referenced it in such a long time, but right, like, isn't it in the in summation poem, like a crash through the skylight, right? Like
Yeah.
right, like literally, he comes through the roof, right? This to try to rescue her, um, and so I think it actually this romanticism that she was saving for her inner life, I feel like actually made her more susceptible to getting this hostile takeover, this close encounter that
And
ruined her.
and that's why she's like, and again, that's why I'm like, and the way up here I actually love it is her being like, okay, if I'm far away from this, I can begin to love my life. And that is not a good thing. And I think in this song, she recognizes that this is not a good thing. Like the fact that she has to say, I'm good, I swear I'm fine, and I'm fine because I'm gonna bottle it all up and get lost in what I'm bottling up. It's not a good thing, but it is what's happening.
Yeah, like living in your fantasy world is a coping mechanism, but it's not a growth mechanism or a healing mechanism. Um,
You're so stagnant because you're stuck in nostalgia.
yeah. So, dear listener, there is another chorus. I think it's the same as the first chorus, right? And then the outro where she repeats the quick, quick, tell me something awful. So we'll just keep talking. But yeah, I really think that this song is kind of the key, haha, to this entire TTPD era So, because of Exquisite, I make lots of playlists now because they're fun for me. And one that I made was called TTPD Chronological Order, where I tried to take both the anthology and the standard side and like try to make it into kind of a storytelling order. And when I thought about it, I think the first song that made the most sense and to me is the correct answer is this song of I Hate It Here, because it's really shows you the mindset that she had, like I guess during the Midnight's era, which she kind of hinted it during Dear Reader. We later got it out more from You're Losing Me. But I think this is the song that really sets the stage for how she goes from out of the oven and into the microwave.
Yeah. And it really does tell you something when you look at how when she made her playlist and she put so many of her love songs on her denial playlist that she was like, look, I got lost on purpose and I saved all my romanticism into the stories, the dreams I could control. And that's how I loved it. That's like that feels like that section feels like her denial playlist. And not to say like those feelings aren't real, because I feel like we have to say again, Lover is still a love song. Lavender Haze is still a love song, since people need that said to them. Because in so much, I'm sorry. Like those are still love songs, but she's allowed to recontextualize a lot of her work, and we also can like look in hindsight and also continue to recontextualize, because her work is an ever-changing body of work. That's the fun part. That's the fun part. um so it is very interesting to set this up as like, if you were to listen to this first and it's like, okay, I need you to understand how I got here, and it's because I hate it and I had to go away in my own mind to feel something, and that just led to a whole pile of bullshit, because nostalgia is a mind's trick, and I hated that too.
Yeah, and I think it's it truly is wild that it's such a common, I feel like a human response to being in a bad situation, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, even a family relationship. And to have her portray it so powerfully and I would even say accurately in this song is a feat.
Yep. Yep. And again, I don't know. There's just, ugh, I feel like just in every line that no mid-sized city hopes. Mid-sized city hopes. Mid-sized city, small town. Like those, that like juxtaposition of having both of them. And she's like, there's neither those hopes or fears.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so interesting. It's just so interesting. And she's there most of the year. Most a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time to be maladaptive daydreaming.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. And so when I listen to my TTPD chronological order, which I actually do pretty frequently, just because I like to change my pace. Like, I'm always like, it's always a gut punched when you start because you feel so bad for her and you get to kind of, and you get to kind of see the sadness. Oh, that reminds me. So, when she talks about romanticism, I save my romanticism for another life. That reminds me of like is it romantic how all my elegies eulogize me? Like it reminds me of the lakes. Like you have and did she combine this? I hate it here and the lakes,
Yeah,
right? You get
she
the
did.
yeah. So you get the two sides. You have the take me away, take me to the lakes, like this beautiful romantic version with my muse, right? We don't need anybody or anything. Like I just want wisteria growing over my feet. But then here
Oh,
it's
well.
like, what'd you say?
But then she's like, I'm actually there by myself.
Yeah, I'm by myself. It's freezing in the palace. Like that's opposite of nature, right? Again, the secret gardens in her mind because she's actually in this cold stone, marbled palace, and yeah, It's crazy. And oh, I just saw a note that this song was part of the I Love You, It's Ruining My Life denial playlist.
Oh, yeah. And I just, again, I have to come back to just the quick, quick. Like she needs that quick, quick to me is her, like the fact that she opens and closes with it is like before I go away again, because I'm there most of the year, I have to go away. You need to tell me something awful. Like you're only this way because you're trapped. You have to be trapped in the body of it. You need to be a poet, trapped. Or I'm gonna have to go away again by myself. You can't come with me.
Yeah,
Because you're a fighter, you can come with me.
to me, it's like, for me, because she says, quick, quick, tell me something awful, I feel like to me, it was like, hey, like, I wonder, is it that she wants them to tell me something before, to prevent me from slipping in to this other world? Or is tell me something terrible so I can escape again?
Or is it like, oh, or is it like, it's awful, you can't come with me because you would want to come with me, but you're stuck. Like,
Oh.
it's awful as well. Like, it's awful that you can't come with me to these secret gardens because, like only poets are allowed in there, but you're stuck in the body of a finance guy. So that's an awful thing to hear that you can't come. You can't come enjoy it with me, you know?
Yeah. For me, I think the saddest one is or that's sad, but for me the sad one is she wants to slip away. Like tell me something bad because it sucks here and I'm just going to escape you. I need to escape you. But then that's
This place is the place where they would trap poets.
where would they trap poets?
Like, no, I'm saying like this is the type of place. He's like, it's awful. I have to escape because this place is where they would trap poets and boring old finance guys, you know? So I
Dang.
get to go away. Away. Tell me it right now so I can go.
Oh man. Whatever
Yeah.
way you interpret that quick quick in the beginning slash end, it's all leading to this her being trapped, right? Like this cage was once fine, right? Yeah, that where's that from? Guilty sin. This cage was just once fine.
Was once just fine. Am I allowed to cry? Because he picked it.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my God. Again, that second chorus, every time I think about it, it just kills me. It just kills.
Hmm.
Because it's like, it's not just I wanted to die. It's like the night I felt like I might die. Like she had to do something urgent or else she was not.
Gonna
She
make it.
would like, yeah, she just wasn't gonna make it. So she had to do something. And that was Dream of a Gentle Planet.
Oh, so sad. Well, on that dark note, um, yeah, an emoji.
It'd be like a starry night sky.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, a starry night sky.
I
Yeah,
don't know if that's
yeah. There's a emoji where I put starry, but it's like a blue a square with like a black space and then blue like galaxy in it. I think that'll
Mhm.
work. Or something with a starry night. We trust you, dear listeners. I said that like 3 times this episode. So
Dear
hello.
reader.
What'd you say?
I just said dear reader.
Yeah, dear reader, but listener. Yeah. But yeah, this is a rough song, and she just like stuck it right after so high school.
And right before thank you, Amy.
Oh my god. The whiplash is part of her charm, everybody.
Yeah, well, and that's also what part of makes the anthology. Because for those who don't know what an anthology is, typically it's a collection of like stories, or you can have like poetry anthologies taken by different people, usually, and put together. So they may all relate on some theme, but because they're written by different people, they may bounce around. Or if it's written by yeah, no, because they're written by different people, like each is his own self-contained story that can be some way connected, and they're put together. Um, And it depends on the editor. The editor decides what order the stories are in. So these are like all self-contained, but it makes sense that they are these self-contained stories while the original Torture Pose Department is like a really tight story, and that's why a lot of these wouldn't fit on it. Because I Hate It Here doesn't make sense on the main track list, I
Yeah,
think. It wouldn't have a spot to go.
totally agree. Totally agree. Um, but yeah, so uh, we hope that you get to listen to something happy after this.
I hope you love it here.
Yeah, we hope you love it here at the Taylor seminars, because we love talking to you guys and interacting with you. And we just want you to know that we'll be back next week with something lighter and fun with Thank You, Amy. Um, and please do not have any maladaptive daydreaming. Please, you gotta, I know it's tough, but you gotta live in the real world. Make that change. Do that thing you gotta
Uh,
do. Um, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
We love you guys. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye bye.